Good morning, everybody. This is Stacy Turner with our DMOpro. So happy to have all of you joining in with us. Thank you for your patience last week. I didn't get to be with you guys. I had a procedure done on my ears to have them pinned back. So I'm sure you guys noticed, or maybe none of you guys ever noticed before, but I'm super happy with the results and super glad that first week was over. It was pretty brutal, but honestly, this has been something I've wanted to do for decades. But when you have kids and they need braces, and the money always is going to go to them. So to have the flexibility for time to be able to heal and the income to be able to do it, I was just like, I'm just going to do it. The longer I wait, the less chance I was going to ever have it done. So super thankful for the opportunity to do that. And I took a picture with my sister and my mom yesterday at church. They had this pretty background, and I looked at the pictures my mom had sent them, and it was like the first time that wasn't the first thing that I saw. So even if it doesn't bother somebody else, it had really bothered me, just in like, it was just a distraction, I guess I could say. So everything's healing well. This ear is still stitched to my head. So I'm hoping by a couple days, the swelling will be down enough that they're able to unstitch it. So everything's going good. And like I said, I'm just glad that first week was over. It was pretty intense. I slept all night last night. So there's nothing better than sleep, uninterrupted sleep. So I was thankful for that. And we were just kind of chatting a couple minutes ago before we got started with thinking about this week, where your schedule might be a little bit more flexible. Other people's schedules might be a little bit more flexible too, that they may be taking half days off of work or even all this week. So if there's somebody that you've been trying to connect with and it just hasn't worked out because of their work schedule, see if you can connect with them over coffee or lunch, because I've got 3 people already lined up this week that we've been trying to connect and it just wasn't working. And so their schedule's a little bit more flexible, and like I said, they may have the day blocked off, their family is coming or whatever that looks like, but Thanksgiving is only one day, right? But they may have sort of the whole week off, or their kids have the week off. I don't know, just the schedule has changed. So when the schedule has changed, or kind of the routine is, maybe it's a little bit more flexible, maybe not, right? But you can still ask and see what they think, and meet for coffee or something like that. So keep that in mind with people that you're trying to follow up with. And I was going to tell you guys, because I always like to kind of follow results of conversations that somebody else has had. If you guys remember the guy that I spoke with on the airplane and had a really good conversation with him. So that was going to conference or coming home. I don't remember which one, but it was on one of the flights for conference. And I've been reconnecting with him, and he's just been busy. He's been working. He's been out of town. But I knew the conversation was strong enough, and the need was there, and the understanding of what Juice Plus was there, and his desire was there. I just had to keep reminding him of that. And so yesterday, I had sent him the link to order, and he just never would order. And he would say, okay, I'm going to, and he just never did. So then I said, hey, I know you're super, busy. I think it might be easier if I just put the order in for you. Can I call you to get your information? And so we had set it up yesterday for me to call him. And so I called him, and he did order. He ordered a quad. So he asked, I said, so we're ordering the quad today, correct? That's the fruit, vegetable, berries, and the omegas. And he said, well, I don't really know what I want. What is it that you take? And I said, that's what I do. I do the quad. We had talked about the omegas as important for heart health and brain health. And he was like, oh yeah. And I said, you definitely want the berries and grapes for that heart health too. So the fruit and vegetables go with that. And then your son gets his, and he's like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So talked to him about his wife sharing their order for a couple of months, and then getting their other son started with her in 2 months. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys some follow-up on that, to let you know that was, quite a while ago. That was a couple of weeks ago, right? And that was a cold market, if you will, like a cold lead, except for we had that really good conversation. But it just takes us being persistent. I wasn't annoying. I wasn't like, I don't know. Sometimes you guys feel like you're like, have you watched the video? Have you watched the video? Have you watched the video? And then you're like, what else can I say? Like, you have to watch the video, but not always. I don't know if he ever watched the video. So I just was like, okay, let's just get you started, because I knew the conversation had been strong enough in that pursuit at the very beginning. So don't be afraid to ask for the sale. You can expect that it's going to take a long time for people and that they need to watch 16 videos before they order, especially if that's where you were at, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's true. And so we don't want to leave them in the space of just never watching the video and feeling bad that they never watched the video. Just go ahead and ask them if they'd like to get started. So you can build a cart for them and send them the cart. So you could have them, text you their address, their email, all of that information, build out the cart for them, and then all they have to do is put their payment information in. And if that's not even working, then just say, let me call you and I'll get this. And I don't know about you guys, but there have been times where I've wanted to order something and I just even know, like, if I have to go on the app, like, it's going to take me time to do it. And so if somebody said, let me just order that for you, I'm like, thank you, here's my card, just do it. Like, I don't want to have to mess with it. So, maybe some of your prospects are the same way, and just offer to do it for them and let them, help them get started with that. So at conference, a couple of you asked me, like, how do you come up with what you're going to be talking about? And I laughed and said, if you only knew, like, sometimes it's 10 minutes before we get on here that I'm like, I asked Jared, oh, we're like starting in 10 minutes. What should I talk about? And so that was sort of this morning. And my inspiration of all things came from a tomato soup pouch. So you guys, I thought, would think that was funny. But on the back of this, there's this little quote here in the corner, and it kind of connects with what my son was saying in an ad that he was running. He has his own business, and he was running an ad for other people that have coaching businesses, and like, he helps coach them on the marketing side of their coaching business on social media, if that makes sense. And so he was talking about, do we want to be more of ourselves? People say, just be yourself. And he had kind of a little twist to that. And so that sort of got me thinking. And then I read this, and it said, life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And I thought, that's really true. Like, it's not just about finding yourself or being more of yourself. Like, we do want to be authentic, but girls, I'm telling you, if I was just myself and I was more of myself, when I was a child, I was very, like, I had no filter. My mom's hand was often my filter. Like, she could see on my face, I was going to say something I didn't need to say, and she would put my hand, and I remember thinking, I wanted to say that. But over time, as I got older, I realized, oh, when I just say whatever I'm thinking and I don't use the filter that God gave me, or I didn't expand that filter or develop that filter, it didn't always go well, right? Like, the conversation wasn't always well received, or I overspoke and I talked like incessant prattling about nothing. And so I wasn't concise with my words. I just wanted to fill the space, the empty space, with some noise. So out came the words from my mouth. Not always productive, not always helpful. And I wasn't great at that. How about the first time I spoke in public? It was not great. Think about in high school, and you're nervous and you have to do some report, and you're like sweating, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm going to die right now. I would rather die. And actually, people say they're more afraid of public speaking than dying. Did you know that? Like, when they do surveys, people say they are more afraid to speak in public than actually die. I don't know if that's true, but that's what comes up in the surveys. So if we're just ourselves and we're not ever developing ourselves and never growing, is that really, do we just really want to be more of ourselves? Yes, we want to be authentic, right? We want to be true to, like, the personalities that we have. But I also want to challenge you guys to think of, like, what are some things that maybe were spoken over you as a child, maybe comparing you to a sibling, right? So, oh, she's the quiet one. She's the shy one. She's sort of the recluse, or she's the loud one. You never know what she's going to say. That's what they said about me. What things were spoken over you that you kind of just accept, like, I was born this way. I was born terrified to speak in public. I was born where I just say whatever I want to say, and I don't care who gets mad. And I'm just being true to myself, and it's what I thought, so I have the right to say it. I don't know. I think there's a lot of different things that could fall into those categories. But is that what we want? To just stay in that place, maybe even stay with that title or that small mindset. Often people's titles to you, or like what they give to you, is sort of a small little box of like, this is your space and this defines you, and you're best if you stay in that, right? Without cognitively being aware of that, just little comments that people will make over time. And so I just want you to think about what you might be saying to yourself. What things do you say with yourself? I was doing a counseling session with somebody yesterday, and she said something like, I was born to be, what did she say? I was born to be unseen. And I was like, ooh, that is interesting. Like, what shaped her thought process to be born to be unseen? Like, her family life influenced that, right? Like, her parents, really, they're just distraction, and they're doing their best to live life, but that she felt unseen over her sister's actually older sister's dysfunctional behavior, and she was just kind of felt unseen. But she said, I was born to be unseen. And so how do you think that affects her mindset, stepping into friendships, to relationships, to conversations? It's going to shape that, right? It's going to shape her thought process, which is going to shape her words, which is going to shape her actions that become behaviors and patterns. And so we want to be careful about that. I just want to encourage you over this next week. One, you might be by family, around family. Does anyone say something like that over you? Do you hear somebody else sort of give you a title or say, this is your space you live in? Do you speak that over people? Be very careful that we're not speaking that to our children or to our grandchildren. Let's just be cognitive and aware of that. Write down those things that kind of come to your mind or that you might say. And is that the space that you want to live in? Because just like this says, life isn't about finding ourselves. Like, we are ourselves. Sometimes, ourselves, the core of who we are. And as a Christian, I feel like the core of who I am without Christ, I'm not generous at heart on my own. I don't always have somebody else's benefit, or like, I'm not servant minded on my own without him. Like, I don't necessarily want to be more of that. I want to be, yes, myself, like, but I want to grow in that. I don't want to stay that self. I want to grow. I want to be a better speaker. I want to be a better coach. I want to be a better business owner, have a better mindset about that. And so what Colin had talked about in his little training video that he did was, who are you emulating? You can say, I need to find myself, or I just need to be myself. But okay, let's just use this in a couple of different examples. Let's say my finances are sort of a mess, and I know I need to get my finances in order. I need to have a budget. I need to at least know where the money is going. So if I am looking for financial help with that, am I going to go to somebody who's always broke? They're always overspending. Their account is always in the negative. Their checks bounce. Would it be wise if I go get financial advice from someone who's broke and doesn't manage theirs well? Probably not, right? Like, they're going to probably not be able to give me the best advice. Or what about somebody, if I'm struggling in my marriage, and would I go to somebody who's been divorced 4 times and ask them for marriage advice? Probably not going to be the best advice. Maybe they could give you what not to do. Maybe they've learned that lesson too, but I don't know if that's who I would go. Like, would I seek them to be my mentor with that? Right? So thinking about ourselves with our business, Who are we emulating? Who are we looking up to? If we're only talking to people that are at the same position that we're at in the company, you're probably going to get sort of the same advice, the same mindset, the same sort of negative talk that would come just within maybe feeling stuck. If you have a Voxer group of stuck sales coordinators that you're in, that's probably, I don't know. I don't hope you guys don't have any Voxer group chats that are named stuck sales coordinators. But like if you kind of hang out with that same type of person and mindset, you're probably going to stay in the same place. But what if you start looking at and talking to and connecting with people that are Q and MD, and you're like, what do Q and MDs do? What is it that they're doing with their team? What type of events are they hosting? Are they speaking at the event? Are they doing a team call for their people? Do they, how do they reach out to them? Are they just reaching out to them in Voxer? Do they have specific smaller chat, like via text with them? What events are they going to? Do they only go to conference, or are they going to boot camps or regional trainings as well? Are they hosting people for level up? Like, do you see what I'm saying? You start asking questions of people at a different position that you're at, that you're wanting to get there. So you start letting them mentor you, because they've already been there. They already did the work to get there. They're going to know the steps that they took. They'll be able to advise you maybe in conversations or something like that. So all of us have a national marketing director above us. Now, if that person's 5 people above you, go 5 people above you and go find them. Go talk to them. I promise you they want to talk to you. We want to talk to you. We love it when you reach out to us. We want to connect with you. We want to hear your story. We want to work with people that really want to grow. It's so much more fun, right? Than if you're trying to like pull someone along that's just not interested. We want to work with those. And you've heard people's stories of like reaching 5 people down, and they, really start working with them, and they build this amazing leg underneath them. We want to work with you guys. We may not see you on our own, which is our problem too as leaders, but don't be afraid to reach up to that person. They're probably going to try to include those leaders that are above you that may be active or not, and try to include them and get them going, but they want to work with you. So who are you emulating? Who are you looking to as a mentor? Who is feeding into your mindset? What books are you reading? If we're going to create leadership mindset, very few people are born as a leader. And you may say that like, oh, she was a born leader. I've heard people say that about me, but I had to grow into that. Like, I may have led people, but just because somebody's leader doesn't mean they lead them the right direction, right? There's a lot of examples in history of people that led people down the wrong path and not to a positive place, and not somebody we would all want to follow. So you want to be a positive leader. What books are you reading about leadership? If you want to have a team, if you want to be an NMD, we're looking at about 30 people direct to you. 30 different team members direct to you before you are at an NMD position. And typically you have a Q and MD underneath you. I don't know if anyone has told you guys that, but if you're at sales coordinator and you're just frustrated that you're not an NMD, you've got to have the volume of a Q and MD underneath you typically to get there. Now, not by structure wise, right? It's just 5 sales coordinators. They will say that it's 5 sales coordinators, which is true, but usually one of them is a Q and MD. You usually have a stronger leg, and then everybody's points add together. But for volume wise and for structure, just kind of thinking it's typically 30 people direct to you as like that you have personally sponsored, and one of them is a Q and MD or close to that by the time you get promoted. Ask most NMDs, they will tell you, yeah, that's accurate. And so if you want to qualify your business, you need to have about 24 trio orders. Do you track that? Do you know where you're at? What if you're trying to qualify your business and you're just frustrated and you only have 10 customers? Is that really fair? It's not really fair, right? Like, you just don't have the volume. You just don't have the numbers there. If you know it's 24, then, put 24 sticky notes on a sheet and write those names on there and give yourself a visual to track that. Whatever your team is, the volume or the structure that's needed, volume always comes first. structure is what people struggle with. So figure out the structure. What do you need structure wise? And then what's it going to take to help somebody get there? What do they need to get to their next position? If you need sales coordinators and you've got QSCs, what is it that they're going to need to get to sales coordinator? They're going to need team. How are they going to get team if they're not getting them on your own? You're going to have to step in and start doing events with them. I can do an event with someone. I hear things different because I'm not so connected to that person's story, right? I don't know their story. I'm not going to fill in the blanks of, no, they wouldn't be interested because I don't know that. And so I hear little things in the conversation, like they mentioned their mom or their best friend that would like to hear this, or just their excitement. And I'm able to say, hey, you should do this with us, and invite them in. And sometimes the other person's face is like, no, they're too busy. Like they would never say yes to this. And then the team member, this new customer is like, yeah, that'd be great. And they're like, shut, what? I would have never asked them. I thought they were too busy. I thought they wouldn't want to. And so having your upline step in, or you as the upline step in and help those QSCs start building team, that's how you're going to help them get to sales coordinator. Then they get to sales coordinator and it helps you, right? And so just kind of working backwards, what's the end goal? And then working to create that. Teams they don't just happen. NMD doesn't just happen. QNMD doesn't happen. Just QSSC doesn't happen. It's little teams that are created by a lot of specific activity that's focused on getting people to the goal of ordering, of becoming partners, from Partner Plus to QSC, to qualifying their business, to building team underneath them. A lot of little conversations directing people forward, getting them to come to events. All of those little things work in synergy together, just like we talk about the nutrients in fruits and vegetables. And so it's about creating those teams. It's creating the leader that you want to be through the books and the people that you're hanging out with, the books that you're reading, the audios, the podcasts. I know that there's a new like 5-day training by Brandon Barber that's like $19. Like that's a very minimal investment for 5 days of coaching, like business specific coaching. A lot of mindset. His is definitely more mindset. I would say Kristen Boss is a lot more activity focused or skill set driven. All of those things count. We talk about mindset and skill set, activity, and marketing ourselves. Those are 4 key places that we speak to on our DMOpros. We've got to be looking into each of those, categories. How are we doing in those, and evaluating ourselves? And then where are we getting help to create the type of leader that we want to be? And just not don't accept those little small boxes that other people have put you in, or that you've put yourself in, because it's not necessarily true. If you're not a great speaker in public, welcome to the club. Most people aren't, but they had to develop that. They had to do it bad and not so great and get training and Toastmasters. I mean, there's a lot of NMDs that have talked about going through Toastmasters to be able to get to be a better speaker. It's a skill set that's developed. And so I just want to encourage you guys with that today. And I'm curious if there's anything that you guys have overcome, or maybe some box that somebody put you in, a statement that was kind of spoken over you that over time you changed. Patty's already got her hand raised. Let's hear it, Patty.
My mother was a teacher growing up. And so like my English and my math, if I come home with a problem, she'd just sit down and kind of do it and not really explain to me why. And I'm like, God, I'm having such a hard time with this. And she'd go, oh, you're just not good with numbers. It's okay. Or you just don't comprehend well. And so that stuck with me. And then I have to talk about, how often do we say that this is a personal growth program disguised as a business? And because of this business and because of my personal growth, people call me to help them understand their numbers and how close they are to the next position. And I always have to laugh on that. And really quick, I have to share, because you were talking about your follow-up with the guy on the plane. I have a gal that I'm touching base with either today or tomorrow that I met 2.5 years ago at a car. She was our financial gal for our car, our pickup when we bought it. And I became friends with her on Facebook. And my brand is basically faith, family, and adventure. And we've always connected and we always like each other. I think she's going to be joining my team this week. So you never know.
Yes. This is it's a marathon, right? Great job, Patty. It's not always a sprint. Sometimes we sprint in activity, but you got to stay, you got to keep going, because you're going to pick up those people along the way from 2.5 years ago, or from a month ago, or sometimes people order right away. Most of the time they don't. It's a consistent follow-up and reconnecting with them and just building into it. It's their timing, not ours. I mean, it really comes down to that. So excellent reminder. Thank you, Patty. Anyone else want to share?
I will.
Hey, Alita.
I just wanted to mention, like, if I was a QSC or a P plus and I heard that I needed 30 people, I would have went, what? Anyway, I wanted to just give everybody a little bit of deep breath and just let you know that I heard something from Deanna Christofferson when I was building my business. And she said, not everybody is going to make, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $10,000 a month. Most of your people are going to make $200 to $500 a month. And so when Stacy said 30 people, just to give you an idea, I'm going to be really transparent. I have 350 reps. 100 maybe will do something like put in an order here or there, but there's probably about 30 or maybe 40 that do that are intentional. And there's probably, out of that 40, maybe 20 that are really working it. So, and that's me at NMD since 2013. So I don't want you to go, oh my gosh, I only have two. It's each person you bring in frontline is considered a rep for you. They might not necessarily go crazy or even be on this call like you are, but you guys are intentional and you're focused. And I'm just really proud of you for being here, because it is an excellent call. And you get even national marketing directors get a lot of great value from this call. So I just wanted to bring you guys to ease.
Good idea. I didn't mean to panic anyone, but she's right. Most people just do a little bit, right? Out of 30, we only need 5 to get to sales coordinator. So that means 25 that are just happy getting some money back on their own orders, putting in some orders every once in a while, like whatever that looks for them. You wouldn't look at an NMD and say, they only have 5 people that are working, or there's 25 people on their team that are doing nothing. It all adds up. Everybody's welcome. We're thankful for everyone. Everyone's points add together. Without those 25, you wouldn't have the volume. So what if you had 5 with the structure without the volume of the other 25? Right? So you just never know who's going to decide, okay, I want to do more with this or not. So that's such a great reminder, Alita. Thank you for sharing that with us and giving those. I didn't mean to panic anyone. Anyone else want to share? Maybe a box somebody put you in that just you've over time realized that's not true.
I'll share it. It's not necessarily a box that they put me in. It was just kind of, it happened because I was the youngest in my family. I have 6 siblings, and the one closest in age to me is 8 years older than I am. So it was kind of like having some aunts and uncles rather than brothers and sisters. But I was always spoken for. Like whenever we'd order, even out to eat or whatever, it was just done for me, because before I'd even get a word out, it was, it just happened. So, and the biggest thing that I remember, and it took a while to get over with this business, was I remember my mom always instilling that you don't ask people a lot of questions because it's being nosy. So I had a very difficult time for a long time asking people about their health, about their nutrition. What do they do? So the real simple questions of, well, what does that look like for you? Or how does that work? Or how is that helping you? Are much easier for me so I don't feel like I'm prying into their personal information. So that was, I couldn't understand for a long time why I wasn't asking questions. And that's exactly why. So, yeah, that was a good lesson to learn.
For sure. Thank you, Michelle. Whatever that little thought is or place that you struggle, take some time and just go back. Like, where did this come from? What might be influencing that? What's the thought process behind it? Why do I feel odd in this area? it's going to go back to something. And that was really good, Michelle, that you identified what it was and then you worked through that and you stepped into it because you listened to mentors above you that said it is important, it is okay, it's part of what we do to ask questions. So that's really great. And Alita said you do amazing at that now, so very good. All right, anyone else?
I will.
Okay, go
And
ahead, Kathy.
It's not so much what other people have said, but for me, I think it's things that I've told myself, because we had 6 kids also. And, we couldn't always have the things that everybody else had. And so I said, well, that's just because, we're too poor, and we can't afford these things and we can't do these things. We can't go these places. We can't. And I always blamed it on being too poor. And I think I still say that to myself. Well, you can't afford to do this. You can't afford to do that. And I would tell myself I'm too shy. I'm too this. And everybody says, you are not shy. But I feel like I have a hard time starting conversation with strangers in a different environment. Like there's one gal on our heat team that she can talk to anybody. Her husband talks to people in the grocery stores about Juice Plus and stuff. I have a hard time doing that. I have a hard time bringing it up, so I don't know. So I tell myself I'm too shy, or I don't want to be so bold, and I don't want to act like I know something that they don't know, and things like that. So, I mean, that's my own personal thing that I'm working on.
That's a great point too, Nancy. And I do think people have like different sort of like a skill set or just a confidence in different areas where you may do better one-on-one with people. I know I do better sort of in a mentorship role with people. And so I put myself in situations within our community that I have a chance to get to know them and to feed into them, to pour into them. And then, eventually we get to have the Juice Plus conversation. I work well in that space where somebody else may work well in, cold market conversations. So I think it could go both ways and just kind of knowing what that is. But I do think, especially when it comes to money, that money mindset. I remember at one point we were really struggling financially, and I thought, and I didn't realize this is what I was thinking. It was actually Amy Gett's husband, Scott, that helped me kind of talk through it. It was, why would I make more money? And my husband was the one that was managing the money, and I didn't feel like we were on the same page with it. Why would I make more money to hand over to him to mismanage? That was in my thought process. Like, of course, that's going to hold me back. Like, I am going to be held back by that. I'm not going to have strong business conversations, right? Like, I'm not going to go after the next goal. I'm going to hold myself back in conversations because I wasn't confident in that I knew we were not on the same page financially, and it wasn't being managed well. Why would I turn more money of my money over to him? Like, it just didn't make sense. I had to reconcile that. I had to have hard conversations. We had to come up with a better plan. I needed a different account that my Juice Plus money went into for a while, because I needed to know I can manage it and I will manage it. And until we built that trust together back up as a couple and built that conversation back to a stronger place, to our skill set to a stronger place, and we were on the same page before I felt comfortable putting it back into like our joint account. So yeah, money mindset is a big deal. It's going to really affect your business more than you think. So thanks for bringing that in, for sure, Nancy. And I think somebody else had their hand raised too. Luke, someone has said.
Karen Smith, I think it was.
Are you still on here with us, Karen?
Yes, I'm right here. I just wanted to piggyback on what Nancy was saying. We have a couple of really quiet people on our team too. So if you're sitting back here thinking, oh yeah, that's me, you guys have a gold mine, because when you say anything, people are like, this must be important to her, because she doesn't usually chime in. you have those people who say something about everything and you have to sort through what they think is important. But if someone is quiet, they really can reach people very easily with that say less mentality that we talk about sometimes. It's just like, I think you might want to look into this, is sometimes all those quiet people have to say, because the person receiving that message is like, she must really believe in that.
That's so true, Karen. And quiet people are better listeners, right? Like, you've listened to the conversation, you've gathered more of the information than those of us that are all chattery because, so yeah, both sides of it, both sides. Somebody may be easier to get into a conversation, but if I have more, like I talk more, I'm listening less, I'm going to have to be more intentional about talking less and listening more. So on the flip side of that, somebody who, rarely speaks up or doesn't talk as much, they're going to have to be more intentional about saying something, speaking up. And yes, they've already listened. So add value to that. That's so good. Excellent, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. I really appreciate the conversation. You guys add in the best part of this. So thank you for joining us. I'll stop recording and